Hey guys, in the last episode, we explored JavaScript expressions and comparisons. Now, we're going to use those comparisons to write code that makes decisions using if, else if, and else. So let's make your code think. So what is conditional logic? In real life, we make decisions constantly. If it's raining, take an umbrella. If you're hungry, eat something. In JavaScript, we do the same using if statements. So let's take a look at a basic if statement. We want to declare this variable called age and assign it the number 18. Then we start an if statement, an if conditional, and we say if the variable age is greater than or equal to the value 18, then between brackets, execute the following code, which is to console log the string you can vote. And we can see you can vote in the console. And the reason why this works is because programming languages like JavaScript will execute code from top to bottom. In other words, code runs from top to bottom, which is called sequential execution. And when it gets here, it checks this condition and it says, is this true or false? If it's true, then whatever code between these brackets will get executed. Otherwise, it will get ignored and move to the next lines of code. So if we change this to 17, for instance, now we don't see anything anymore because this is no longer true. Age, in this case, is not greater than or equal to 18 because the current value is 17. And that's why we never see anything in the console log and the code keeps running downwards. To illustrate this better, show you a technique which a lot of developers, including myself, use when we're debugging our code. So you can have a console log here and just log the string 1. Then here we put 2, and then here we put 3. And let's comment this out for now. So as you can see, we can see 1, 2, 3. So JavaScript has executed all of these codes. But what happens when we change age now to 17? We don't see 2 anymore because again, JavaScript reached this line of code and it says, okay, let's console log 1, here it is. Then it reached this line of code, this particular condition here, which at the moment is returning false since age at the moment is not greater than or equal to 18. So this piece of code here never got executed. It got completely ignored and JavaScript keeps running downwards until it reaches the next piece of code, which is this one, to console log 3, and that's why we see 3. Okay, so let's comment these out and move to the if-else statement. And let's start by declaring a variable that is raining and set it to false. Then we want to say if this condition, which is raining, if this is true, run this code, which is to console log the string take an umbrella. Otherwise, or else, run this code, console log enjoy the sun. So right now is raining is set to false. So what is happening? Again, JavaScript is going downwards. It's reaching here. It's looking if this is true or false. If it's true, it's going to execute this code. If this is false, it's going to ignore this code and execute the code that is inside the else statement here, inside here. So when this is false, this one gets ignored, and when it's true, it executes this one and ignores this one. So watch what happens when we change false to true. Now it's executing take an umbrella. So again, you can also use here the console log 1 and 2 if you're debugging to see what's going on. Sorry, this is 2. So this is set to true. If this is true, it's gonna console log this one, 1. We see 1 here. If it's false, it's gonna ignore this one and go to this piece of code. So it console log 2. Okay, let's comment this code out and move to the else if statement, which is the multiple conditions. So use else if when you have several different conditions to check in order. So let's declare a variable called score and assign it the number 85. Then we want to say if that score is greater than or equals to 90, then do this. In this case, we want to console log grade is A. Else, if another condition here, score, is greater than or equals to 80, then we want to console log grade B instead here. Then another else if, and the condition this time is if the score is greater than or equals to 70, then in this case the grade would be C. Otherwise, if none of these is returning true, we want to execute this one here, which is to console log F. So at the moment we see grade B because the value that is saved in the variable score at the moment is 85. So JavaScript gets to this condition. It looks, is 85 greater than 90? Obviously not. So this gets ignored. Then it checks the second condition. Is 85 greater than or equals to 80? Yes, it is. 85 is greater than or equal to 80. So it executes this code. And then it stops executing after that. Because score is also greater than or equal to 70. Because 85 is greater than or equal to 70. But we don't see grade C in the console. That's because when you meet any of these conditions, when any of these conditions is true, the code will stop executing after that. So let's also change here to see what happens, for example, when we have, if we have 69 here, now we see F, because this one is false in this case, this one is returning false, and this one is returning false, so we're left with this one, the final one, which is F. Okay, but if we say 75, we're gonna get C, because we're not here. At the moment, 75 is not greater than or equal to 80, but it is greater than or equals to 70. And that's basically how the else if statement works. Let's now comment this code out and move to the logical operators. And here we have the double ampersand in JavaScript and the double pipe character. So what do they actually mean? So basically the double ampersand means that both conditions must be true. Okay, now the double piped, that means either condition can be true. And when we use an exclamation mark, that means not. So basically it flips true to false and vice versa. Okay, so let's look at an example. We declare a variable called temp for temperature, and we set it to 25. Then another variable, sunny, and then boolean, true. Then an if statement, we say if the temperature, the temp, is greater than 20, and at the same time it's sunny, which means sunny is true, then execute the following code, which is the console log following string, perfect day for a picnic. Okay, then we can add another if statement here, and we say if the temp, if temperature is less than 10, or it is not sunny, then execute, let's copy this, execute, change the text, maybe stay indoors today. Okay, so let's think about this for a moment. What's happening here? And what we see right now in the console, we see perfect day for a picnic. Why is that? So we started with a temperature of 25 and we set sunny to true. Then we have the first if statement, and this is the second if statement. So again, JavaScript reaches here, and then it checks this condition, starting with this one first. It looks, is 25 greater than 20? The answer is yes. So that returns true. Then it proceeds to the next condition. So the end here, again, it says means both conditions must be true. So both of these have to return true in order for JavaScript to execute this line of code here. If either one of them isn't, it won't. So if this here returns false, it's not going to reach this code here, and it's going to carry on to this one. Okay, so again, is temp at the moment 25 greater than 20? Yes. So this is now true. Let's check this one. Is sunny true? Because when you have sunny like this means, is this true? And the answer is yes. Watch what happens when I say it's not true by using the exclamation mark. Now it's gone. So this is no longer returning true, it's returning false. And we want it to return true in order to execute, to reach this line of code and execute it. So that's why we don't see anything anymore. And that's why this condition also is not met and we don't see anything in the console. So let's return this to true. So this is returning true. 25 is greater than 20. And at the same time, sunny, this way, is true. This is equivalent to saying it equals true. This is the same thing. Okay. But again, if we change this to false, now this is not executing anymore. But let's keep it at true for now to see that this has to be true and at the same time this has to be true so that this piece of code gets executed. And if either one of them isn't true, like in this case here, this is not going to execute anymore. So let's check the second one. So here's saying if temp is less than 10 or it's not sunny. So at the moment it is sunny, and so this is returning false because it's sunny at the moment, and the temperature is at the moment not less than 10 because it is 25. But we only have to change one of those. So just one of them has to return true in order for this line of code here to execute. So the double pipe means either condition can be true, not both, just one of them has to be true, and then the JavaScript will continue and reach this line of code and execute it. So if we change this to 9, now we see maybe stay indoors today. Because even though this one is still returning false, because at the moment it is sunny, and here we're saying we don't want it to be sunny, we want it to be the opposite of sunny, because remember, the exclamation means not. It flips true to false and vice versa. So right now we're looking at the condition that is false, but right now it is set to true here. So this will return false. So the other condition right now, because it's set to temp less than 10 and we change the temp value to 9, so this is now returning true, and all we need is one of them to be true, which in this case it's this one, and that's why we see this code here executing. If we change this back, let's say to 15, and we either change this to true this way, so now it's executing because this is now true and sunny is true, or we can keep it as is and change it here. So when we do that, we're going to get the same thing. This is going to execute. So this is how the logical operators, the double ampersand and the double pipe, work in JavaScript in a nutshell. Okay, so let's comment this code out now and move to the practice exercise. And what I'd like you to do here is to, one, I need you to create a variable called time and set it to a number. Then two, I want you to write logic that does the following. So if time is before 12, then log good morning. Make this capital. And if time is between 12 and 18, then log good afternoon. Otherwise, log good evening. So pause the video now, have a go at it, and come back for the solution. Okay, so how do we solve this? So we declare a variable called time, and we assign it the number 14, for instance. And we say that if time is less than 12, then let's console log good morning. Okay, make this capital. Then we say else if time is less than 18, then we want to console log, copy paste, good afternoon. Else, so otherwise, we want to console log good evening. Okay, so what's currently happening in this code? We see that at the moment we're getting good afternoon. So it is this code that currently is being executed. So we started with time with a value of 14, and then we're checking if time, if 14 is less than 12, so this is false. Okay, so this code here is not gonna execute. Then we're checking, is time less than 18? Well, yes, so 14 is less than 18 and 14 is greater than 12. So this is if time is between 12 and 18, we're gonna get, so it checks here, and this is gonna return true, and the code continues like so. So we get this. And if none of these, again, is truthy, returning true, we're gonna get the last condition, which is good evening. So if we change time to 10, we're getting good morning. So we're at the moment executing this one. Okay. And if we do, let's say 20, we get good evening. So now we are executing this code here. So awesome, guys. You've just written conditional logic, which is a core part of building smart, responsive programs. In the next episode, we'll level up with functions, how to group code into reusable blocks that do something specific. If you enjoyed this, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. See you soon.